Hi, Stephanie. This is Winworth wishing you a Merry Christmas. We appreciate your business with us, and because of that, we're giving you 25% off with code XMAS25, valid until March 30, 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a valued customer. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays too. Hi everyone, Stephanie here again. Christmas is just around the corner, so I wanted to do something not just fun, but also valuable to business owners. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to build a fully automated talking voice assistant that phones your customers, wishes them a Merry Christmas, and then goes ahead to read out a personalized discount code, all without you having to pick up the phone. In this video, I'm going to use Excel Online as my CRM. Now I'll also use Microsoft Copilot Studio to orchestrate the flow, and then I'll use Vapi to handle the actual phone call and then the AI voice. By the end of the session, you'd have a workflow that can look through your customers, generate a friendly holiday message for each one, and then trigger an outbound call that delivers it in a natural human sounding voice. So if you've ever wanted to surprise your customers with a high-touch holiday experience but at scale and on autopilot, then stick around to the end of this tutorial as I'm going to show you step by step how you can build this as well. So come with me into Copilot as I'm going to show you how to build this step by step. I'm first going to walk you through how I built the automation in Microsoft Copilot Studio, after which I would walk you through how I set up Vapi to handle the AI voice and the call itself. So let's start first with Copilot Studio. So inside Microsoft Copilot Studio, you want to first navigate to the flow section, okay? So once in the flow section, you start off with a manual trigger. Now, I decided to use a manual trigger because I'm just testing this workflow. But if you want to achieve this at scale, you want this to run on autopilot, then instead of a manual trigger, you're going to use a schedule trigger, okay? So you can sort of schedule this to run at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. It really depends. You can choose the time. So I'm going with a manual trigger for now. And then once this workflow is triggered, the next thing I want to do is I want to get customer information. Now, I deliberately use Excel Book Online. If there are other CRM tools that you use, then you can actually connect that in here as well. I just use Excel Online just because I know a lot of people are logged in the Microsoft ecosystem, and so some people would keep their customer information in spreadsheets online, and so I wanted to demo how to use spreadsheets in this case. If you have your customers, let's say in Go High Level or in another CRM tool, then you can decide to use that here as well. In that case, you'd have to call the APIs to get a list of your customers. So that's like a separate configuration, okay? In this case, I'm just focusing on like keeping my customers in a spreadsheet online. So in terms of the spreadsheet, I created a spreadsheet here. This is a dummy spreadsheet, and I've captured like the customer information, like their name, their phone numbers, email. And I do have a column in here where I've marked as call status. And the idea is that this automation will basically go through the list of customers and it would only call customers that have been marked as not called. So at the end of it all, once the customer is called, it will come back in here and update the status. So this is a spreadsheet I have. With regards to how you set up the columns, that entirely depends on the type of flow you want to go for. I was only interested in having like the first name, the discount code, and the discount amount. So again, it really comes down to what you want to communicate in the message. If you would also want to have maybe a total list of like orders they placed with you or something that is just like personal, you can also have a column in here and have that in there so that at the end of the day, when our automation kicks off the call in Vapi, it will pass on that information as well. So this is the spreadsheet I have here. Now, I just want to focus on customers I haven't called. I have in a filter array in here, which is basically filtering out all the customers that I've called, and I just want to have customers that I have not called so that I can proceed to calling them. So that is what this filter array does. And in terms of like, if you are new to Microsoft Copilot Studio or the flows, in order to fix these values, you just have to click inside and then you can decide to select the dynamic value here. And then you can basically select on the one you want, like click on the one you want. In this case, I'm interested in the value, which is the list of items coming from the spreadsheet. Or you can decide to use the FX. So this is like the expression. So if you are deciding to use the FX, then you have to put in an expression. I'm trying to do this no code and low code as possible, which is why I decided not to even use the expressions in here. So now, because this is going to be like a list of customers, I know in the spreadsheet, I just have one customer that I haven't called, and that's because I'm just testing it. But then eventually you probably have a lot of customers that you want to call. So in that case, you're going to be using a for each loop in here. So what this will do is that it's going to loop over the data and then it's going to call anybody you haven't called. Okay. So that is why I have the for each loop in here. And I do have a build call message in here and I'm using a compose node. So if you click on the plus button and you search for compose, you'd see this compose node. So this is the node I'm using. Okay, I'm using this node to build a message. You can also use a run a prompt node. If you are used to running automations in N8N, the run a prompt node would be like your AI agent node in N8N. So you can also use that. But for this particular use case, I just thought using a run a prompt node would be an overkill. So I'm just limiting it to the compose node so that because the message is always going to be the same, I'm not personalizing it. But if you start personalizing messages or you want to have like specific type of messages for specific customers, then it makes sense for you to use the run a prompt node. But because I'm just focusing on I'm just using the same message across all the customers, I'm just using the compose. And I have this short expression in here. And what this expression is doing is it's basically building out the message that will be sent over to Vapi. So as you can see, I have hi, and then I have the first name. Item first name is really how you refer to items in the list that would come through from the filtered array, right? So I just have the message pulling information for the first name in my spreadsheet. I'm pulling information from like the discount amount, discount code, and the expiry date. So this is the information that I need, and based on that, I've just created a message out of that. So this message is what I'm going to pass on to Vapi during the call. So now that I have the message composed, the next step is to pass this message through this HTTP node, okay? So in the HTTP node, this is exactly how I am populating it. This is gonna be a post, and if you go into the Vapi API reference, what you're interested in is the create call, okay? Because you're just trying to create a call. You're not trying to receive a call or receive any response. It's just like creating a call. So if you come into the API reference documentation, you see that there are things you need to include in here. This is a very simple use case, guys. So I'm not going to be putting in so many things. The things I'm interested in here is really like the assistant ID and also like the phone ID, as well as the message I'm passing on. And the good thing about most API reference documentations is that you can easily come in here and just copy the curl code. Okay, you just click on copy to clipboard and you'd have the curl code here. So now that we have the curl code here, the next step is to come in here and then you just make sure that this case you can't really import it. In N8N, when you're using the HTTP request node, it's very easy for you to just import the curl code. In this case, you have to manually put them in here, which is why I feel like sometimes N8N is a bit more configurable than Copilot Studio. But it really depends on what your use case is. It really depends on where your customers are. If your customers are logged inside the Microsoft ecosystem, then you may want to have the automation in Copilot Studio, right? Because it's easier, you're able to tap into existing resources they're using already. And also a lot of customers don't want to have more tools. They just want to make use of the tools they have already because they probably have a subscription for Copilot Studio and they want to make the most out of it. So now that you have the curl, the data in terms of what needs to go where, you need to put in the authorization, the content type. So the authorization really is your API keys. And I'll show you how to set up your API keys eventually when we move on to that. So inside a body, I'm using this exact JSON. So this is an outbound phone call. It's exactly what's inside this API documentation. So you need to put in authorization content type. And then when you come in here, the type is an outbound phone call. And I'll show you where to get the assistant ID. And then you need to put in the phone number. So this is the phone number you're going to be calling. And you can really reference the phone number from the items that are coming through the list. So this is really how you would reference it. Again, if you want to do this dynamically, you can use this. And then you can decide whether you want to insert dynamic content or you want to insert an expression. And depending on what you choose, you can do that. But in this case, I'm just using an expression. And then you put in the phone number ID. And I'll show you how to get the phone number ID as well. And then these are defaults. And then the first message. So I want the agent to talk first. So from the demo, you realize that I made the agent talk first. So that is what I want. So once you have this in here, the agent is really going to say what we have in the build message, which is the message that was composed. So this is how it will look like in your designer. I'd also like to say that if you are interested in learning AI automation or starting a business around AI automation, then I'm able to help you in multiple ways, okay? So first, you can join my free school community. I'm going to leave the link to that in the comment section or in the description box. You can join my free school community. And when you join my free school community, you get access to all my tutorial videos on N8N, free templates, and you get like lots of like advice on how to get started. There are a lot of people in my school community that sort of are in the same space as you. They want to learn automation. They are really eager to start their own automation businesses, or some of them are just trying to learn AI automation, not for business. So you get to interact with people who are like-minded and all that. And then secondly, I'm launching my paid community as well. Paid community, we're going to go deeper. We're going to have weekly build sessions, weekly expert-led sessions, Q&As, lots of structure, lot of accountability. If you're interested in taking the next steps in your AI automation journey, you want to be more serious about this, and you want to have a lot of accountability, you want to learn from other people, then I'm going to leave the link to sign up to the paid membership community as well in the comment section or in the description box, so that you can sign up for it as well. And then once it's opened, you get notified so that you can join. And the last thing I want to talk about as well is, like, if you're like, Stephanie, this is really cool, but I don't want to build it, or I don't think I can build it, but I want you to build it for me, then that's also something I can do. So you can also send me an email. I'm going to leave my email in the description box as well, so that you can send me an email. Okay, so this concludes the Microsoft Copilot Studio part of the tutorial. Now let's move on to Vapi, because Vapi is where a lot of the magic happens. Vapi handles the natural human sounding voice you heard. That's like the talking AI voice assistant itself. So let me show you how you can configure Vapi. So before you start, if you don't have an account with Vapi, the first thing is to sign up with Vapi. I'm going to leave the link to sign up in Vapi in the description box as well, so that you can sign up. What's important is you need to create an API key, because remember, in Microsoft Copilot Studio, you need to pass the API key. So you come into Vapi and then you click on API keys and you click on add key. So once you add your API key, you just copy it and then you paste it in Copilot Studio. Now the next step is you want to create assistants. Okay, so this is how you create assistants. You click on the assistants tab here and you click on create assistant. Once you click on create assistant, you can select from a blank template, or you can select any of these predefined assistants as well. I'm going to close this because I already have an assistant created specifically for this tutorial. So I'm going to click on Christmas assistant. Now you can give your assistant a name. I decided to give my assistant the name of a Christmas assistant. And then just take note of this assistant ID. This is the assistant ID we intend put inside Microsoft Copilot Studio. So assistant ID field, you just copy the assistant ID you get from Vapi and then you put it inside Copilot Studio. Now the other thing you need to do as well is you need to also configure the phone number ID as well, and I'll show you how to do that. But before I go in there, let me talk about the system prompt and let me talk about other configurations inside this assistant. In here, you can configure the behavior of the assistant. So in terms of providers, you can decide to select any of these providers. I'm just sticking with OpenAI for now, and then I'm going with the GPT-4o cluster. And then in terms of the message, you need to decide, like, do you want the assistant to speak first? Do you want the customer to talk first, so the assistant will only talk when the customer talks? Or do you want the assistant to give any custom message? It all depends on how you want to configure this, okay? So in here, I'm just saying the first message should come from the assistant. And so inside the system prompt, this is the exact system prompt I'm using. I'm saying you are a concise Christmas greeting phone agent for Finworth. And I have this exact prompt in here, and I'm passing in the message I'm getting from Microsoft Copilot Studio. So this is the message I'm getting from Microsoft Copilot Studio, and I put in some guardrails. I'm just saying, like, just say thank you for being a valued customer, happy holidays, and then hang up. So if you watched the demo earlier, it does exactly that. It says thank you for being a valued customer, happy holidays, and then it stops talking. So these are things you can configure as well inside your prompt. Because we are not like taking data from any files, you don't need to configure any files in here. In terms of the voice configuration, you can decide what a voice configuration should be. There are some predefined voice configurations here, so you can decide which one you want. And then I'm not using tools because this use case does not require you to have additional tools. So if I was expecting a response from the customer, then I would probably have a tool defined to take the response from the customer. But since I'm not expecting a response from the customer, I don't need this. So this is all I need to do to configure my assistant. Now the next thing is to configure the phone numbers. So this is where things get a lot more interesting. So you can decide to create a phone number. You can get a free Vapi phone number, but this phone number is only restricted to like the United States. And so if you are based outside the United States, then you need to buy a phone number from Vapi, or you can import a phone number from Twilio or Vonage. Regardless of this route, you still need to, especially if you're out of the United States, you still need to pay for the phone number one way or the other. So since I already have a phone number in Twilio, I'm going to import that phone number in here. So I've already done several tutorials on how to manage this Twilio bit. My last video where I created a voice agent with 11 labs and Microsoft Copilot Studio, it has the steps in how you can get the phone numbers and everything from Twilio. And then I also do have like other voice agent tutorials where I've talked about how to get the configuration set up in Twilio as well. So I'm not going to cover that in this tutorial. But once you have your phone number in Twilio, it's just a matter of like putting in the phone number here, putting in the SID and all that, and then you should be fine. That's pretty much like a straightforward process. So once you have the phone number, this is the phone number ID, just copy that and then you put it in this section of Microsoft Copilot Studio. Yeah, guys, that is it for this tutorial. Like I mentioned, if you're really interested in taking this automation journey serious, then you would want to sign up for my paid membership community. I'm leaving the link to sign up in the description box so that you can go sign up. Also, if you are really interested in like learning more about like building AI agents, talking avatars and all that, I have a playlist just dedicated to like building AI agents, building AI automations inside N8N Copilot Studio. So I would encourage you to watch those videos as well. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, then do subscribe, share this video, all the good stuff. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.